60% of pre-COVID level as far as domestic traffic is concerned. And well, 60% is better than what we observe in most countries or regions, but it's still far from a sustainable and comfortable situation for the industry. And in other words, the industry is still bleeding cash and will have to strive for its survival in 2021. So all these successes demonstrated our ability to adapt quickly, and I think this is important, as the recovery and the transformation of our industry is not over yet. So 2020 was unlike any other. 2021 will certainly present us with a different set of challenges. We have a lot ahead of us, the headwinds are still strong, and we must go back on the offensive. So this means continuing to strive to recover air traffic. This means further developing the Indian aviation ecosystem in all its dimensions, engineering, manufacturing, training, maintenance. This means accelerating the transformation of India as an international hub. This means accelerating the regulation changes when it comes to taxation, to aircraft financing, to air traffic control. This means as well enhancing the effort to develop all required infrastructure, be it airport, MROs, or training centers. And I think it's gratifying to see Indian companies achieve laudable competency in all areas of aerospace manufacturing. Several OEMs source hundreds of manufactured components and services from India, supporting the deepening of the aviation industrial ecosystem in the country. Making India Aatmanirbhar in aerospace manufacturing does not mean copy-pasting capabilities that are already existing elsewhere. And this would make little sense in a global market that is already shrinking. I think India can do better than copy-paste. We must leverage the country's immense human competencies and talent pool to leapfrog to the technologies of the future. So the ambition should not only be to develop MRO and manufacturing capabilities in India that we need, but also to prepare India to take an active part in the development of the next generation aircraft that will rely on disruptive decarbonized technologies and on advanced digitalization. So, dear colleagues, I'm optimistic about India's aviation and aerospace future, and I'm proud to be part of such a great community and to contribute to the strengthening of commercial aviation in India. So, on that note, I welcome all of you to this very important webinar on the topic of Aatmanirbhar Bharat and look forward to a very meaningful interaction. So once again, I wish you a safe and healthy year, a year of renewal, rejuvenation, and resurgence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Remy. You really highlighted the resilience and the no compromise attitude of the civil aviation sector. Thank you for putting it right there where it should be. With that, I welcome Joint Secretary Ms. Usha Padi from the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Madam needs no introduction. She dons several hats. I would just mention two few which are very close to my heart. She was the first woman DG of BCAS, the first woman DG of the first woman CMD of PHL. That these are two roles that she has successfully played. And as the push behind Uran, she needs no introduction. She actually does not need an introduction to the civil aviation sector. So, ma'am, with that, I would request you to please put in the setting of the tone of this webinar.
Thank you, Garima. And one more introduction is I am her dear colleague, so you can understand all the appreciation why she has made. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all. And first of all, from my side, I wish you very, very happy New Year to all of us. As Mr. Remy said that the 2020 was not very good to all of us. I mean, the way we see it. So the new year will bring new hopes, and we wish that and we believe that the year would be extraordinary for civil aviation globally as well as to India. Dear colleagues from state and central government, industry captains, friends from media, and ladies and gentlemen, it's a honor to be here addressing to you all. As all of you know that some time back, civil aviation was considered as only a mode of transportation or be limited to some section of the society, but it has emerged as a engine for development. Globally, we have several models, very successful models, where we have airport-centered developments. It creates an ecosystem for the growth, and the entire region become prosperous just because of aviation beginning in that area. In India, the story has been incredible, and just pre-COVID, if you ask me, we had the problem of plenty, which is maybe a good situation to be, because our growth was in double digit, fleets were increasing, and we were expecting in next 4 or 5 years double the number of aircraft. And within that 5 years, we were thinking of having the capacity of the airports almost like double, triple, more number of airports, more number of various industries coming up to support the entire growing aviation sector. Again, we always propose, but destiny, we have a pause in between because of the COVID. But every crisis is an opportunity. The aviation has shown its courage and resilience in bouncing back. If you see, with all the odds and constraints, new opportunities have been explored, whether it is in the international market, opening up a new routes, opening up of new bilaterals, the various what we call new normals, putting the new normals in place. The public health measures have been taken. So the globally, civil aviation is just coming back. I don't say limping back, but it is on the track. This is one of the hardest industry which has been hit by the COVID, no doubt about it. Whatever we say, there have been few positive things happening, but still, I mean, we are not in a very comfortable position. As I said, to address this type of situation and to bring back the economy, when we talk of 5 trillion economy for India, so the civil aviation is going to play a very significant role. When Honorable Prime Minister announced the Aatmanirbhar Bharat, which is a reformist agenda, it is not only just a self-reliance or self-sufficient type of slogan. It's a philosophy which has been created as a strategy to ensure that the India would not be, looking inwards, but it is a looking forward, and becoming India becoming a bigger economy by relying upon their strength, skills, the demographic dividend. So based on our strength, how we can integrate our economy to the global and make the self-reliant India, which will be coming back as a more strong and more friendly to the world. I mean, like the contribution would be very affirmative and very solid. So with this, the today's seminar has a very significant, very relevance to happen, and it's a precursor the way we will be building the momentum till the Aero India happens. And for this, the step, I mean, like initiative of the Ministry of Civil Aviation has been continuing, and more than anything, it is our responsibility. It is the government responsibility to create an ecosystem, create a platform on which private entrepreneurship grow. India, as I said, that India has strength in the technology, in these skills, but whether we have the enabling environment, rationalized tax regime, which will help the private entrepreneurs to work along with the government and ensure the manufacturing happens in India. And it's completely like what we call it's a global connected industry. It has to be a continuous supply chain, and we have to link with the outer world and make sure that each other's strengths are leveraged. few initiative which ministry has been continuing, I would like to highlight. Of course, during the Q&A session, if there are very few specific questions, we can try to answer. It is whether whenever this Aatmanirbhar Bharat was announced, you might be seeing that Honorable Finance Minister coming out and saying uh, some of the packages, or what we call some of the offers which have been made to uh, make sure that the ease of doing business happens, the ecosystem and the financial services would be opening up for various initiative which can give the fillip to the manufacturing. So one of them was the rationalization of the regime for the MRO, making India as one of the hub, if we can make it happen. Then we had talked of even leasing the offshore leasing system can be brought in. So you might be seeing that in Gujarat, GIFT City has been put in place, and the regulatory authorities have been put in place so that the financial services can happen in India, that can bring more businesses. Once the financial regime becomes easy, the industries will come up in India, people would be interested. Because when the Aatmanirbhar Bharat was said, that it was said that welcome to the technology, welcome to the FDI, welcome to the people who are coming and investing in India and believing in Indian people. So all these ecosystems have been put in place and the rationalization has been happening. We have the ecosystem for drones. Of course, my colleague Ambar is there. He will be speaking, I believe, on how there has been a enabling platform and enabling circulars which have been issued so that the people can use it, and the strength or the technological leverage which can be unleashed from the drones can happen in India. And we have like regulators. I have no hesitation in mentioning that the dealing with regulators or interaction with regulators have to be very, very friendly, and this can happen only when we have the proper digital platform. So both our regulator of safety and security, who would be playing a major role in reformist agenda, would be going on digital format very soon, and all their services and interactions would be on what we call eDGCA and eBCAS, which would be completely computerizing and e-governance, making the entire transaction and on a digital platform. So this will ease the life of those entrepreneurs who would be continue to do their business, or who would be interested to start the start up many of the manufacturing units here. And I once again thank our partner FICCI and all other industries who have been partnering with the ministry and giving inputs whenever required to make a proper policy framework for implementing of various desirable requirements. So I wish that this webinar would be very successful and meaningful, and the inputs which will be coming would be going into the policy making area or arena. Thank you so much, and once again, wish that this year would be very, very bright and good and progressive for our industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. You very ably summed up, ma'am, that the initiatives taken by the government in this period and the digital initiatives that are being taken to make business smoother for the entrepreneurs. With that, I would welcome Mr. Parag Vadva, Managing Director, Collins Aerospace India, to make a presentation on developing aerospace manufacturing and supply chain base in India, the challenges and opportunities. To introduce Mr. Vadva, he has 20 years of operations, supply chain, materials, quality, and ERP systems experience. He's a self-starter and has a proven track record. He has expertise in strategy development and roadmap for execution. and has significant experience in change management related to business transformation. Over to you, Mr. Badwa.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and Happy New Year to everybody on the call. Can you show the slide, please? Okay, next slide, please. So I'll start by talking about Collins Aerospace first. So from India perspective, we have a significant presence. Actually, we are one of the aerospace company who have a significant manufacturing presence compared to Boeing and Airbus. So we have multiple locations. So in Bengaluru, we have both engineering and operations, close to 3,000 plus people. In Hyderabad, we have multiple engineering locations as well. And in Delhi, we have a service office. Actually, Delhi Airport behind the scene is run by Collins Aerospace. And then we are also in process of constructing a new site in the KIDB SEZ Aerospace Park. The phase one is slated to be completed towards the end of Q1. And we are looking into starting the phase two towards Q2 of this year as well. So as I said, we are the only big aerospace company who has a manufacturing presence in India. Next slide, please. So these are the key operations and engineering capabilities we have. So a lot of assembly and flight safety critical manufacturing is done in India. Testing of flight safety for the different LRUs are done in India as well. We have a significant expertise in technology transfer and product transitions between the parent company and us. There's a lot of LED lights, heat seal sites, and technology development has been done. And also the flight deck and flight control system and cabin systems are also produced in India. We also have a lot of engineering work which goes into the landing gear on the nacelles. A lot of simulations and training has been done in the India campus. And we also do a lot of engineering work for the GCU, which is a general control unit, which is how the planes are started. And that's how we get all the electricity and everything when it's on the runway before we board the aircraft. So very significant capabilities, both in operations and engineering exist within Collins Aerospace in India. Next slide, please. So these are the site certifications. So both Bengaluru and Hyderabad site is AS9100 Rev D certified. We also have a NADCAP certification for various special processes, which is fusion welding, brazing, digital radiography. And then we have multiple awards from our customers as well as within India for the Make in India initiative. And we also have received Golden Peacock Award for health and safety for our employees. We also have awards for excellence in innovation. And then recently, we got the award for the best top 100 company for women to be working in India, as well as the World HRD Congress Best Employer Brand Award. Next slide, please. So these are the facts. So we are the largest exporter of aerospace products from India. We have close to 235 patents across different SBUs. We are helping India to become a major aerospace hub by investing and thriving and working with the suppliers to grow the manufacturing capabilities for aerospace. We have an FAA and DGCA partnership for the company. And we have successfully designed, developed, and qualified different systems for the A320neo and the Bombardier C series at the Bengaluru facility. Major customers we support is Boeing, Airbus, Embraer, Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney, Thales, and so on and so forth. So this kind of just shows the Collins presence. This is just really quickly, I'm really proud of the Collins team as well for the corporate social responsibility. We have done a lot of work during the COVID to reach out to the community to give them the first aid and the hygiene kit. We also got award from Chief Minister Mr. Reduyappa for doing the work of creating a mobile test during the COVID facility. And we have focused on education and skill development as the key things as part of the CSR responsibility within the community. So let me talk about now the supply chain for the aerospace. So we have been in Bengaluru for the last 17 plus years. And initially when we started, we were just developing the competency of the supply base. We started with procuring almost all the components from outside of India and assembling and testing in the Bengaluru facility. So that's how it was started. And the suppliers were also in the part of learning in terms of figuring it out what they need to do. So the value add which we had initially from the supply chain was very minimal. And throughout the last 17 years, they have now built different competencies in machining and fabrication. We have also trained suppliers in terms of aerospace requirement and the regulatory requirements. We had qualified suppliers for aerospace parts, not only for Collins, but for Boeing and from other customers as well. So that was kind of the initial phase of the supply base. From there, now we are in the middle part right now, where we are developing more capabilities from the supply base. We are building test fixtures now. This is last year, there's 3 key test fixtures, which was 100% built in India. And that was the first time we have done that as a Collins facility. So we are investing in the supply base to create more and more test fixture as a India homegrown test fixtures. We are developing more and more special processes. We are working with the supply base to invest more in special processes so they are self-reliant in terms of the quality, as quality is the most significant piece from the aerospace perspective. We are establishing JIT, kind of a Kanban system with the supply base for the local suppliers within Bengaluru. We are also working on a new product introduction with the supply base. And we continue to establish different supply base throughout the supply chain and continue to get to the high value add of work which we need to do. The last thing which we are working through at this point is to encourage some JVs with the incumbent and the low-cost suppliers to create more capabilities. And what we want to go do is to migrate to even more complex assemblies as we go through it, which the biggest thing is the qualification of the raw material. Today, all the raw material which we get for the aerospace comes from outside of India. And that is the next biggest breakthrough we need from the India perspective. When we talk about Aatmanirbhar Bharat, that is the key thing we need to do. We need to figure it out how we can take the local raw material and certify that for the industry, for the aerospace industry. We need to continue to develop more supply base into manufacturing, and we need to qualify the local labs for further testing and certification. So that's the next phase of what we need to do. So the challenges we face from the aerospace industry, one of the biggest ones we faced during the COVID was when the lockdown happened, both in Bengaluru and Hyderabad, our sites were completely shut down. And when you look at globally, aerospace industry is deemed as an essential service. So that's one of the things we definitely need to change in India to make sure India can play at the global level. That customers should see India as one of the countries who play by the global rules and they have the same rules as other customers. I'd also like to thank all the government officials in state of Karnataka who were able to help us get licenses to start within 10 days of the lockdown. But it definitely caused a lot of disruption. So that is definitely one thing we need to change. The second challenge we face is the offset credit. subject from the offset perspective. And the biggest challenge we face is we are a subsidiary of a parent company, which is in the US, and our shareholders is outside of India. So right off the bat, a lot of times we are not even eligible for the offset, even despite the fact that we have all the capabilities within the country, but we are not eligible for the offset credit. So that puts us basically into the programs that we are bidding today as part of the Raytheon Technologies, which is our parent company, or Collins Aerospace. Even though we have the capabilities, we need to go and look at some MSMEs or the other supply base, but they don't have the capabilities which we do. So as a result, when you talk about the Make in India, and we talk about growing the manufacturing base and getting job for the people, that just taken away out right off the that eligibility. The second challenge is definitely the knowledge transfer and information sharing, which we need to continue to make sure the rules are there to protect the IP. And from information sharing, the rules is if we are a tier 1 supplier of a contract, then how do we make sure that the information we have for pricing is protected? So those are the challenges we face from the offset perspective. As I stated, we are building a new site close to the airport. So I think we really need to ensure that when we say a single window clearance for the pre and post construction, that it is truly a single window clearance. In reality, what happens is when you go to the single window clearance, you still have to do a lot of legwork behind the scenes, and you still have to reach out to the multiple departments to get all the construction approvals. So that's the other thing we need to continue to change. From MRO perspective, the site which we are building is right next to the airport, which makes it a very, we can leverage that actually from the MRO perspective to grow and build the MRO capabilities in India. The challenge we face is the certification timeline for MRO. It's close to 1 year. If I apply today, it's going to take more than 1 year for me to get MRO certification. And the second thing is the requirement of dedicated equipment for the MRO. If there's no volume, the investment for the MRO will be very high. And that is going to be a challenge if anybody wants to get into the MRO business. So we need to look into the certification process for MRO, as well as making sure that the dedicated equipment requirement is waived initially until we get to a volume where we do need to invest in a dedicated equipment. And the last thing I have is the lack of certified raw material, which I just spoke in the supply base as well. That is the next biggest thing we need in India to continue to have a increased aerospace manufacturing and have more self-reliance in terms of the supply base and continue to have the manufacturing. So that's all from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Vadva. The challenges as brought out by you give us an insight, and the two low-hanging fruits which we could see there as a ministry was about certification. Certainly, as a ministry, we can take it up, that it does not take so long for the certification process. And the second is inclusion of aerospace as an essential service. I hope in the future we do not have a situation where this arises, but we will take note of this and we will go ahead with that. And we look forward to working in closer cooperation to iron out the challenges that have been pointed out by you. Thank you again. With that, I welcome Mr. Ankit Mehta, co-founder and CEO, Idea Forge, on Making India a drone manufacturing hub. Personally, I've had the opportunity to work with Ankit when I was looking after the work related to drones. And Ankit is one of the young entrepreneurs and very passionate about what he does. Other than that, to introduce him, I would say that he's an ITB alumni and was listed as one of the top 35 entrepreneurs. He also features among the top 50 most innovative leaders by the World Innovation Congress. He's co-chair of FICCI Committee on Drones and is also a member of the FICCI Young Leaders Forum. With that, I would welcome Ankit to please give his address.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the for the invitation. Thank you to Mocha for the invitation to address this gathering, as well as to give us an opportunity to talk about how we can truly make drones a transformative sector for India and in India. With that, can I request to pull up the presentation, please? Thank you. Great. So I'll give a very quick brief about Idea Forge. We have the honor of being the largest drone manufacturer in the country. We've been around since 2007, and we've delivered our systems to all the armed police forces in the country, several state police forces, as well as several enterprises have also in the past deployed our drones. Our drones are currently being used not just on our borders, but also being used for the Swamitwa scheme to provide the ability for our Panchayati Raj Ministry to give property cards to rural villagers on ground, for which MOCA had given exemptions for those operations. I want to highlight a few critical, events that have happened in 2020. If I were to start, then at the beginning of the year, I would say that sort of the drone industry was a good to have industry in the country, and probably across the world, it was a good to have system, and therefore it was getting the attention that it was getting, probably because of that. However, when the COVID-19 related lockdowns started to happen, and drones emerged as one of the key technologies that could enable us to still have a view of what is happening inside these containment zones and areas where even the law enforcement could not, dare to venture in order to protect itself. A huge mindset shift happened because of that, in my opinion. The other event that happened pretty much on the back of it was that Honorable Prime Minister, with the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, announced the Swamitwa scheme to map all the 660,000 villages in the country, all the inhabited areas of those villages, using drones to be able to provide property cards, which, according to the famous economist Hernando de Soto, is a key measure to multiply the GDP of a country due to the ability to unlock the economic potential at the grassroots. So it was a great move, transformative move, which was ably supported by MOCA in a very, very agile manner, and exemptions for those operations were, they were the first set of exemptions that were given for operations for drones in India to government departments. Following on the heels of the same was the Garud portal, which was opened up for exemptions for operations for law enforcement, as well as various other emergency use scenarios were considered and given permissions for in a very, very fast-paced manner, such as the anti-locust operations and other similar initiatives which needed the attention of these kind of systems. The other thing that happened is that the country suffered through the Galwan tragedy, and that opened the eyes of the entire establishment that no longer can we be blind at our borders, and drones are clearly a transformative tool to be able to monitor these areas in a persistent manner without necessarily putting our soldiers and our jawans in harm's way every time. Similarly, that galvanized the entire country and the bureaucracy to understand that unless and until we become self sufficient in these technologies, we are going to carry a significant risk in the case of any unfortunate situation, and therefore that has seen those initiatives has started to see actual implementation on ground. So I'm very excited about how Aatmanirbhar Bharat and the support to it is panning out across board in all ministries. It's very heartening. All such measures in the past haven't seen as much uh, as much heart to them as much as this initiative has seen, according to me. Similarly, another fallout of COVID 19 has been that the whole globe is looking at alternative factory sources, alternative places to make their systems, hardware from, which opens up a huge possibility for the rest of the world, including India, if we are able to capitalize on that opportunity. As well as the last nail in the coffin, to make drones from what was a good to have equipment at the beginning of the 2020 year to the end of the year in 2020 being a must have equipment. In fact, the urgency with which the adoption needs to happen has truly been understood only after the Nagorno-Karabakh region war that happened between Armenia and Azerbaijan, where Azerbaijan was able to defeat Armenia comprehensively in a very short span of time, purely because of the power of what they could do with the drones they had. So, with that, and that effect of these things, of these incidents and these events is evident on the drone ecosystem in the country. It has almost made the industry jump its capability or its requirements by an order of magnitude within the span of 1 year. With that, I'd like to highlight that it's a study that we are doing in FICCI on the behest of DPIIT to look at how can India become the drone manufacturing hub of the world. And one of the key things that one needs to understand is what is the potential in that scenario. So if we can go to the next slide. So while we were doing this study, as a FICCI co-chair, I was part of this study. We understood and we realized that the total addressable market potential in India for drones is close to about 3 lakh crore. And typically, the replacement cycle for this technology is between 7 to 15 years, depending on the platform size. Therefore, it is a massive market opportunity within this country alone that needs to be serviced. And of that opportunity, we envisage that the local manufacturing potential in itself can be close to 60% of that market potential, is about $25 billion or 1.8 lakh crores. So we have a massive market that we can open up for the drones and counter drone industry if we play our cards right. And to exemplify what those ideas could be, I'll take the next few slides to take you through some of the thoughts which can truly benefit the industry and put us surely on the path of making this the drone manufacturing hub of the world. Next slide, please. So one thing that we need to very closely understand, that despite the 3 lakh crore market opportunity, 80% of that market is government led. Because if we talk about all the defense drones, if we talk about the counter drone systems, if we talk about the law enforcement systems, if we talk about all the large infrastructure uses in the country, are all at some level or at actually the widest scale dependent on government deployment, government use, be it land records mapping, be it power line sector, be it oil and gas, be it uh, to some extent even the telecom sector and a lot of other sectors where drones can be used. Most of the business cases, government or PSUs end up being the largest possible customers. Therefore, the onus in a large way in this industry is in how fast can the government adopt these systems. And it is very challenging to adopt a new technology in the way our current financial covenants are there as far as the procurement norms are concerned in all the ministries and entire government procurement segment. Within that, we are sort of buying, at this maybe a dal or a rice almost at the same process as we are buying new technology. And a very new technology has a lot of challenges, and those challenges are are that the buyer does not understand what is the right thing to buy, and the seller is also not sure of what his full performance level is, and therefore there is a lot of misrepresentation, there is a lot of over expectation. In most cases, we have seen impossible specifications coming out, but the entire industry and the government mechanism is behind doing trials for that and trying to see what can happen, and then it has to happen 3 4 times. So it's a very inefficient way to induct a new technology, especially where we expect a lot of startups to participate in such procurement processes. Startups will have almost no ability to sustain such operations at a long period of time, and therefore I've given a few suggestions that if we can move our procurement system for new technology from being efficiency focused, efficiency of capital utilization focused, to being efficacy focused, that the need for the technologies today, and we need to encourage adoption as fast as we can so that it can come up in a big way. Therefore, it's a huge area to look at. The other area is that we feel that there needs to be mandatory drone specific budgets if we want to meet our target of becoming the drone manufacturing hub. Then drone specific budgets in procurements for all the key ministry who are potential end users of drones. There has to be a specific budget for drones. Without that, that scale is not achievable in this domain, including our continued push with a lot of effort. We are continuing to push the regulations and usage of commercial uses of drones, and that needs to continue to be pushed with high intensity. And I'm sure that we will get there sooner than later if we continue that push at the pace at which we are doing today. Moving on, and I'll move a little faster. I believe one of the huge shot in the arms that could be there for enabling this vision is that we create a national drones commission, probably under the overall aerospace umbrella, in a manner that it allows an empowered group of bureaucrats to be able to take fast track decisions for the operationalizations and regulations of these systems, so that the interministerial bottlenecks that we face today in terms of decision making, and due to which a large part of regulatory operationalization delay is happening today, can be addressed in a much faster manner. There is a need for sustained regulatory and standards development in this industry to make sure that we are producing equipment which is airworthy, and we know what is an airworthy equipment as well in more detail. With industry participation and focus, R&D facilitation and commercialization support are other areas that a National Drones Commission could look at. Now, next slide. The other, few areas that need attention is that we need probably a PLI scheme that can help encourage a lot more investment from the industry in this space. So demand creation, one step in that direction, and investment encouragement is something that will go a long way in pushing people to bring in their capacity in India if possible. Similarly, we need a lot of testing sites. It's a technology area that cannot function without it being tested in the real world, without having sandboxes that will allow you to play with the technology and create cutting edge technology in the country. We need to be more aggressive on that, as well as we have put a negative list for not wanting to import fixed wing mini UAVs. I'm very happy to report that for all categories of nano, micro, and mini UAVs, India is self sufficient today. There is a large base of small companies and large companies who are addressing this requirement. It would be really, really helpful if we can have that negative list extend to all those category of systems in which we are already world beaters. The product that you see on the side is a product that has beaten competition from Israel, from America, from Europe, to be the only product capable of operating in high altitude for the kind of operational requirements our country has today. Moving on, the last set of recommendations that I can make is probably about streamlining our export norms, creating a relatively more clear regime as far as industrial licensing is concerned. There are a lot of cobwebs around it still, and half the people are having it, half the people don't have it anymore. So this I will probably pause and hand it over back to you.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you for all the inputs. And we also have our Joint Secretary here who would be listening in to those suggestions. And you are working in close coordination with Focus. So hopefully for drones and drone manufacturing, India would come out as one of the world leaders. With that, I would take the opportunity to welcome Ms. Ashmita Sethi, Managing Director, Pratt & Whitney India, to make a presentation on enhancing the competitiveness of aerospace and defense ecosystem in India, the present landscape, challenges, and path forward. Ms. Sethi provides strategic direction for Pratt & Whitney's growth and business goals in India and drives all of the company's new initiatives and existing operations, which include customer relations, global supply chain support, engineering and training centers, as well as communication and government affairs. She's also the chairperson of the Civil Aviation Committee at the American Chambers of Commerce, as well as the co-chair of the Civil Aviation Committee of FICCI. With that, I welcome you to begin the presentation, Ms. Sethi.
Okay. Yeah, the mute button sort of keeps getting pressed. So thank you so much, Ms. Singh, and thank you all the esteemed panelists from FICCI and MOCA, for allowing me to speak on this panel. So, we are deliberating here, and these deliberations have gone on for quite a while, for a couple of years or more, I would say. We have made a lot of progress, but the subject still requires some expert thinking and efficient implementation, I feel. Making India self-reliant, Aatmanirbhar in aerospace manufacturing, it's really important to continue to understand, what we are trying to achieve here. What Ms. Padi said, earlier during her, when she was talking, she mentioned that, it's based on a few pillars like economy, infrastructure, systems, demography, and demand. It really advocates self-reliance, not for protectionism, as I see it, or isolationism, but to help identify India's inherent strengths and profit from them. It's a platform where India makes not just for itself, but for the world. Before we move on to the deeper topic and deeper discussion, let me start with a very quick background of Pratt & Whitney. The India slide is right up here, and you can see that we have been here for 7 decades, powering Indian aviation. We have close to about 680 aircraft. We have about 1,500 engines in service, and other than just commercial aircraft, we also power military aircraft. And we have several operators across India, which are more than 125 in number, because we also power the regional connectivity scheme, which the government has been promoting, and we have a world-class training center in Hyderabad, where not only our airline customers from India, but airline customers from the region, from around the world, also come and get world-class training on real-time engines at Hyderabad. Most recently, we launched a very solid partnership with Air India Engineering Services Limited and set up a MRO facility in Mumbai. for the world's most advanced turbofan engine, the GTF, the geared turbofan engine, which Pratt and Whitney is popular for manufacturing. So this MRO facility is based currently out of Mumbai, but we are exploring a lot of other opportunities in India regards MRO, regards component manufacturing, etc., and looking forward to partnering with India to make in India a real huge success story and make India Aatmanirbhar in manufacturing. So here, let me talk a little bit more about our global capabilities in manufacturing. Why I'm talking about these, because these give us an insight into what may be called a factory of the future, which is very important for competitive world-class manufacturing, which rests on pillars of safety and quality. Our customers, around the world require that the most safety and quality. So it's, one of the very important factors for us as well. We have a solid foundation in manufacturing engines. On the commercial side, our revolutionary geared turbofan engine currently has an order book of 10,000 engines, despite the pandemic. It powers, Remy's Airbus aircraft, the A320neos, and also the A220s. On the military side, we have more than 7,000 Pratt & Whitney engines in service with about 34 armed forces around the world. So we are strategically positioned in the military market as well for decades to come, by the virtue of our in-service engine base, and also because we power, the world's fifth generation aircraft like the F-35 and the F-22. Pratt & Whitney was founded in 1925, a company that emerged from the second industrial revolution. When the pillars of that industrial revolution were electricity, steel, and oil. They were the launchpad for the aerospace industry at that time. But for Pratt & Whitney, innovation was important right from the beginning. The birth of the Wasp engine had a special air-cooled design at that time. It was a radial design, and that used a split crankshaft, as its real key flagship quality. So it met the US Navy's standard for a 400 horsepower engine at that time that weighed 650 pounds or less, a feat that other manufacturers at that time were not able to achieve. So innovation is in Pratt & Whitney's DNA. Then came World War II, and which amounted to another industrial revolution, let's say, in the world. Engine designers had to produce engines at that time, which were close to about 4,000 horsepower. And in the recent decade, then came the turbofan, the GTF, and then came our afterburn turbofan, the F-135 is powered by the F-35, and the F-135 powers this fifth generation fighter. So the GTF is creating a revolution of its own by achieving 20% reduction in fuel consumption, about 50% reduction in carbon emissions, and 75% reduction in noise reduction, which are the standards of today. And those manufacturing standards are something we may need to emulate as we look at the factory of the future. So the popularity of the GTF engine, and the steep industrial ramp up has already started us on the path of what's called the fourth industrial revolution, or the Industry 4.0 enabled transformation. However, when we look at India, I think we are yet to really start manufacturing an aircraft in India. And what we need to look at, I would think, is entire ecosystems, that can deliver future-ready industries. So obviously, world-class manufacturing infrastructure, which I just spoke of, vibrant and extensive supplier base, which Collins just spoke of. They are a huge world-class supply chain company, and excellent. And we are lucky that we have them in India. They are our sister company as well. Then nurturing innovation is important, and making India a startup hub may be very important. Support and sustainment, which we are sort of focusing on. We are focusing on the MRO. And then access to engineering and skills talent, which also needs to be looked at. So advanced research and development, which is another cog of this entire ecosystem. It's very important that we start thinking ecosystems rather than just manufacturing in isolation. So all these are extremely, extremely important. What challenges sort of we face at this moment is in the simplification and ease of doing business. Capital is very, very important in this industry, but capital kind of shuns risk. So we've had very few manufacturing investments in India because companies have not been able to meet investor expectation on the returns, or the kind of FDI they bring into India. Companies will look at a business case, and therefore we need to make this highly attractive. So a really good step in that direction is, in defense manufacturing, there's been a complete increase from 49% to 74%. But if it were 100%, that would definitely be a step forward in the right direction. Taxation, legislatively, retroactive taxation, has created an air of uncertainty to investment plans of company. Verbal assurance is insufficient. Currently, even on the MRO taxation, the GST, we've been in discussions with MOCA for several months now. And we are batting on behalf of actually the Indian industries, like Air India Engineering Services Limited here. Policy implementation or policy announcement has been done, but implementation at the ground level has not been very efficient. There are still a lot of loopholes, there are still a lot of impediments and still a lot of hurdles in understanding the GST reductions, which have not happened. There are papers which we have submitted to MOCA, on all of those, and would request them to look at why some of the engine parts are still being taxed at 18 to 28% when the government has announced that the taxation is down to 5%. And that taxation also is supposed to be zero rated, because of the virtue of this being in the category of a industry which is categorized as exports. The other thing is labor laws, those ought to be simplified. Infrastructure needs to be world class for us to be competitive. Logistics is important. Parag just mentioned that their MRO facility is going to be near the airport. So those kind of things are very important. And then timelines, in achieving these or implementing these policies and regulations is also very important. Companies do not have bandwidth to hold on for months and then years, because there are other competing countries as well. Next slide, please. So a recommendation would be, let's incentivize the experts, the manufacturers, the OEMs, and the investors to bring them to India. Let's look, sorry, just go back to the previous slide. Yeah. We really need to not only match the incentives that other countries give to set up manufacturing and MRO facilities in their countries, but we need to exceed those incentives as comparable with other countries. Also, when the government places orders, this is really for the MOD and maybe not really here, but when the government places orders or the customers place orders, then these orders need to be of scale. That is when companies get the bang for their buck, when they invest in a country like India. So these are the few challenges we face, taxation being one of the most important ones. And secondly, stable policies that companies see and which helps to build trust with the government. So those are the things, Ms. Garima, I would request you, if you can take a note of. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sethi, for highlighting the challenges. As you rightly pointed out, it was made a point of by our Joint Secretary that the whole ecosystem needs to be developed. That is what has been reiterated in the challenges. Particularly, the local supply chain has to be there, the infra has to be there, as well as the push that a company can expect in India in comparison to the other countries. So we also have our members from the other relevant ministries which would be taking note of this, and we are also taking note of this as to give a push to aerospace manufacturing. Certainly, this is required to be done, and as pointed out, we have taken a note of this. Thank you, Ms. Sethi, again. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Mihir Kanti Mishra, General Manager, Aerospace Division, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. To introduce Mr. Mishra, he represents an organization which is, of course, one of being the integral players in the Make of India theme. And Mr. Mishra is leading a team which is actively involved for production and integration of space-worthy launching vehicle hardware for PSLV, GSLV Mk2, and GSLV Mk3 and satellite structures. Mr. Mishra is a mechanical engineer, and he has been having this illustrious career with HAL for the last 31 years, working in various projects in the production divisions, looking after portfolios with both comprising of manufacturing of both engines and aircraft. With that, I welcome you, Mr. Mishra.
Good afternoon to all panelists and participants in this webinar. All of us, I say, will acknowledge and appreciate that Government of India's several initiatives and launching of several programs, they all align to transform India into New India the Naya Bharat. Be it Make in India or be it Aatmanirbhar Bharat, be it ease of doing business or be it the recent initiative on space reform, mission is one, that is move towards Naya Bharat, Aatmanirbhar Bharat. We at HAL Hindustan Aeronautics Limited are committed to contribute in every possible way in this journey, since our ambitions are big, our aspirations are high, motivation is good, opportunities are plenty, challenges are highly exciting, and of course, experiences would be thrilling. With this background, and considering today's webinar theme on making India self-reliant in aerospace manufacturing, I would like to touch upon the landscape of opportunities and associated challenges from industry perspective in general in aerospace and defense sector while moving towards Aatmanirbhar Bharat. Now let's analyze few aspects. The Government of India's Make in India campaign, a long-term ambitious project, aims at promoting India as a destination of foreign investments and a pivot for manufacturing, design, and innovation globally. This Make in India doesn't only target the manufacturing sector, but also aims at promoting the entrepreneurship in this country. And we all are aware that 25 sectors have been identified under this mission, which includes aviation, defense, and space. Under this initiative, Government of India aims to increase the share of manufacturing sector of the country's GDP to 25% by 2025, which will help in transforming India into a global hub for manufacturing. This national program is designed to facilitate investment, foster innovation, enhance skill development, at the same time protect intellectual property and build best-in-class manufacturing infrastructure in the country. This is important for the economic growth of India. The program also aims at improving the rank on the ease of doing business index by eliminating all unnecessary laws and regulations. Let's scan the opportunities. If you see overall, India contributes around 3% to the world's defense and aerospace spending of about 1.7 trillion US dollar, and ranks among top 5 countries in the world in terms of military expenditure. The obsolescence and the depletion of assets have created a significant demand for wide-ranging equipment in all the 3 arms of Indian Armed Forces. Accordingly, the Indian government has undertaken a major defense acquisition program for the armed forces to upgrade and replace existing equipment in a planned and phased manner, in addition to filling in the capability gaps. The aerospace and defense market in India, which is estimated to reach around $70 billion by 2030, as the momentum is expected to further pick up with improving infrastructure and government level. In the commercial aerospace sector, it's needless to mention that the huge global backlog in just the narrow body segment of the aircraft itself, and India's demand is staggering at around 10 to 15% of this backlog. In the space sector, although India has achieved major feats in space mission and allied activities, the Indian space economy is valued at $7 billion at present, which is around 2% of global space economy of $360 billion. If we target to contribute at least 1% to India's envisaged $5 trillion GDP in 2024, then the Indian space sector needs to reach $50 billion. That means the Indian space sector needs to grow at approximately 48% compound annual growth rate, CAGR, over the next 5 years to reach $50 billion mark. All this thus create a huge opportunities for the Indian industry to contribute and show its presence, giving rise to a quantum jump in growth trajectory. Apart from this, definitely there is a promising global market wherein Indian industry can definitely leverage its potential and expand its base through appropriate business models. You all will agree with me that in the wake of new Aatmanirbhar Bharat policy, India renewed its pursuit of self-reliance. India moves into a new regime for defense system production and acquisition under the larger ambit of the government's Aatmanirbhar Bharat mission. The new policy seeks to ensure self-reliance in defense manufacturing. It includes the Ministry of Defense decision to introduce an import embargo on 101 defense equipment to be implemented progressively under 2024. Parallelly, the Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO released another list of 108 systems and subsystems which will be designed and developed by the Indian defense industry. Further, the Government of India's decision to increase the FDI in the defense sector from 49% to 74% under the automatic route is to enhance the domestic defense production and development of new technology in India. Further, the Defense Acquisition Procedure, DAP 2020, that has also increased the indigenous content requirement in all categories of defense equipment, defense procurement. The DAP 2020 has also proposed other measures to increase indigenization, such as increase in indigenous availability of high-end military materials, use of indigenous software in equipment systems, and a boost to innovation by startups and MSMEs. Further, the current Government of India initiative on space reform, it has also opened a great landscape of opportunity with a scale never seen before. The entire Indian space industry is quite excited to get aligned with Self-Reliant India mission under the newly evolved favorable business environment. There are recent initiatives. If I scan the present scenario in this sector, the Indian industry today is on the threshold of entering into a new era where it will assume greater responsibility in making the nation self-reliant. The Indian manufacturing sector is internationally competitive with international quality standards, efficiency, and manufacturing facilities. India is fast developing into a manufacturing hub for world corporations wanting to leverage the sector's proven skill in product design development with creativity, assured quality, and value addition. It's a fact that component manufacturing makes a strong case for global OEMs and their suppliers to consider India as a destination to play a vital role in the global supply chain. This could be several advantages to gain from the low cost in India, along with the technical and engineering expertise and skills available for high precision and high quality components. For India to demonstrate its expertise and to be called a leading hub, it must be capable of tackling the end-to-end process, beginning from initial design to final manufacture using the available resources to its advantage. India now continues to develop metallic and composite materials with ever-increasing performance, but there are only a few serious players in this regard. New companies, no doubt, are accelerating this evolution of new materials, advancement in machining and cutting technology that give manufacturers the unprecedented access to materials which was previously deemed impractical or too difficult to machine. When it comes to aerospace raw material, be it aluminium, titanium, plastics, or composites, there is a wide capability gap in this country, and therefore industries must come forward to boost aerospace manufacturing. All these will mean more and more opportunity for the Indian industry to participate and contribute to the Indian and global space economy. Further, as I mentioned, the current space reform also has opened a great landscape of opportunities. This unparalleled growth opportunities demand a strong and sustainable commercial ecosystem through participation of industries. And this ecosystem would act across the entire value chain, driven by rich technological expertise and focus on research and innovation. Coming to HAL, the name which is synonym to aerospace in India has been propelling India's Make in India campaign by undertaking design, development, manufacture, repair, overhaul, and upgrade of entire range. It's aircraft, be helicopters, be aero engines, be accessories, avionics, or airborne systems.
I may request for the time constraint, so if you could limit.
Yes, sir. Has become the backbone of Indian air defense and attack capabilities. The company has to its credit 17 indigenously designed and developed flying platforms, including a number of fighters, trainers, and helicopter aircraft. Helicopters, aero engines are being rolled out from its production line. In addition, company has ensured continued product support for the platforms in service through ROH and undertaking several aircraft upgrade programs. The indigenous Advanced Light Helicopter ALH, Dhruv, and the Light Combat Aircraft Tejas are unique HAL products which have made the country proud. The indigenous development of aircraft and helicopters has put India amongst those few nations of the world that have the capability to design, develop, manufacture, and maintain these platforms on its own. Similarly, HCL's thrust and design and development for self-reliance has resulted in innovation of several peerless products and technology. Our indigenous products and upcoming projects, including LCA Mark 1A, light combat helicopter, light utility helicopter, trainer STT-40, engines like 25 kilonewton turbofan engine, 1200 kilowatt turboshaft engine, would further strengthen the company and the nation's aerospace technological capability in times to come. The company also enjoys an export footprint in over 20 countries and the largest exporter among all DPSUs. HCL has supplied Dhruv, Chetak, Cheetah, and Dornier aircraft to several international customers. In space sector also, HCL as a strategic partner has been associating with ISRO for the Indian prestigious space programs since last 5 decades. With full range of technological capabilities, HCL aims to go up in value chain for end-to-end realization of launching vehicles also, along with integration activities which are presently carried out by ISRO. Thus, HCL's capabilities are aligned towards self-reliance and defense preparedness, strong manufacturing base.
I'm sorry to come in, Mr. Mishra, again, but we're running short of time.
Can I
We've
take
exceeded
two
time
more
by
minutes?
half an hour. Could I please request you to
2 minutes more. So if you look at the challenges which arise out of opportunities, it could be on technology front, it could be on capability build, skill creation, cost competitiveness, or sort of sustainability. These are all important factors which need to be addressed for the success. To conclude, all of us acknowledge that opportunity in India is world's envy. Also, you understand that opportunities bring challenges. The futuristic technology development as well as technology sharing have to be a continuous affair among the industries. And understanding that this is a high-tech and capital-intensive business, collaborative modes only can have the win-win scenario for sustained business growth. And there is no doubt that Indian industry have got all the muscles to make India a major player in the global aerospace industry and contribute significantly towards India's Aatmanirbhar Bharat mission. And HCL is always committed to contribute in every possible way in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. I apologize. I have not been a very efficient timekeeper. At the same time, I also take this opportunity to welcome our secretary who has joined and will be a part of the speaking team here. Right now, I welcome Shri Ambar Dubey, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Civil Aviation. To introduce him, Shri Ambar Dubey has the distinction of being one of the 9 professionals selected in September 2019 by the Government of India to join as Joint Secretary in the Union Government. He's one of the lateral entrants. He also has been honored for valuable contribution to Indian aviation in 2012. He has been closely associated with the Ministry of Civil Aviation in drafting the Vision 2040, the NCAP. With that, I hand over the stage to Shri Ambar Dubey, sir.
Thank you so much, Garimaji, for that kind introduction. A very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you also, FICCI, the Aerospace Committee, and everyone who's taken time out for this interesting conversation. I'll keep it short because I think we already overshot the time, and we are all already, everybody's connected anyways, and we are in direct touch on various issues. Today, we'll just limit it to just expressing or just reiterating what has already been said by my esteemed colleagues, and then I also see Ms. Davra is also, I think she's also there right after this one. Is that correct, Garima?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Yeah. So I think there's I think everything has been said about Aatmanirbhar Bharat and also the Galwan Valley where 20 of our brothers were killed. And I think that sort of galvanized us and made us just wake up and take note. Okay. And it's a matter of shame that, even after 75 years or whatever, after the Brits thankfully left us, we are still a nation of importers and traders. And we feel very happy about that. So we import and we trade, and we very rarely do we design and develop. It's, of course, great job done by our colleagues from HAL, NAL, and various other entities in India, both on the private and government sector. But of course, there's much more that we can do. Also, yes, our colleagues, all our good friends, say Parag or Ashmita, Remy, they've also done a great sort of collaboration with us by putting in huge amounts of manufacturing here. But of course, that under the current government, we want it to be multiplied 10x. Now, Ashmita will not bring in 10x of our investments unless she gets a return on investment. So that's where we all have to work together and find how it can be a win-win, because end of the day, we are all doing this for a return on investment. It's a simple financial term, and nobody's going to come in here just for the sheer love of India. So it has to be made into a win-win. She has to come, and when I say she, I'm talking about the entire aerospace and the foreign community, the foreign manufacturers, OEMs, that they'll come in only if they get a reasonable size of the market, and they also utilize the Indian facilities, not just for India, because India will always be a small part of the global network, but also use this as a springboard for production and exports. So our dream is that India should be not the 10th largest factory that they have in the world, but amongst the top 3 that they have within their own mother country, say United States of America or France. And maybe there could be another big factory right up next door, the guys who caused the Galwan action. And we could be the 3rd or the 4th largest. At the same time, the pressure is also on the government. All my colleagues are here, and Ms. Sumita Davra, she's also pushing us hard from Invest India. She's telling us to clean up our act, and we will, inshallah. There's a full detailed exercise which is currently on, where we are mapping all the different processes and the huge number of applications and the entities that you have to go to, doing a complete khichdi and a mess that we often do. And that pisses off the investors. Okay, people rather go to a Vietnam and get a red carpet treatment than come to us and make us feel important and do these webinars and say good things about MOCA and DGCA. Okay, we want. I think there's a complete shift away from that. We're saying let's do business. You want a quick approval. We are setting up systems. So good to have. In fact, Ms. Davra's boss is somebody from a community itself. So Dr. Guru Prasad Mahapatra, who's been chairman Airport Authority and is credited with so many of those radical changes and a very sharp and very quick decision maker. He's now heading DPIIT and Invest India. So I think we are in good hands, and we now talk the language of the investors. And investors want less of talk and more of action, quick approvals, and make quick money, send it back, increase their market cap, market share, market cap. The headquarters should say fantastic job done in say Vietnam or Singapore. So unless we give that kind of the same return or same both quantity and quality and returns, we can keep on doing these webinars and nothing much will happen. So this is where I'll stop. I also look at, aerospace and MRO. My secretary was very kind enough to give me this honor that now the responsibility for aerospace and MRO has been given to me. It was earlier handled very well by my colleague, senior colleague, Ms. Vandana Agarwal, who's now completely inundated. She's done a fantastic job, especially on the MRO front. And she's now inundated with work on the COVID vaccine movement. She's also leading cargo as one of the many responsibilities that she handles. So now I've been asked to help her out and now take charge of the aerospace and the MRO part. I'm also looking at drones. So I think I'm anyway in touch with all of you. So I don't want to drag this conversation. I would rather make it a little interactive. If you ask questions to us, rather than me going on a monologue. And suffice it to say that Aatmanirbhar Bharat is here, Make in India is here, Design in India. In fact, Make in India is just manufacturing. You can put 2 lathe machines, you can churn out a manufactured product, or put a CNC machine and keep churning out. So we're also looking at job-filled growth, not jobless growth. So as I said, not just putting up another assembly line where robots and machines do the job, but we're also going to be looking at more human-centric. And that's where we are telling all our global OEMs that please come here for a win-win. Don't do a charity for India. Don't we also don't want to put pressure on you that, you just did say 100 million or 200 million or billion. Can we do 3x, 4x? Find, let's sit together, have a cup of tea. It is all taxpayers' money, so please come and have tea with us. And we will discuss areas where you get a strategic advantage by coming to India. If Lockheed and Tata's have got the S-92 cabin, I'm told they save something like 25 to 27% on that cost, despite being manufactured in Adi Batla in Hyderabad and shipped all the way to US. And that's where Donald Trump and now the next president will sit. So they are not doing it out of charity. And in fact, they're not getting any offset benefits. They're saying this offset story, I think, has gone on for too long. It's of no use. Okay, let's do business. Okay, please identify components and parts, because you know your component. Every aircraft has 2.5 or 2 or 3 million parts. You know which component has more of human involvement and where India gives you a natural advantage. And let's talk about those issues, and let's get into a conversation about whatever fiscal, monetary, procedural, customs, the inverted duty structures, all those issues we are very happy to talk to. We have a very supportive the administrative network here across ministries, right from PMO, from Niti Aayog, from CAPSET, from MOCA, DGCA, DPIIT. I think you won't find a better environment right now where you can literally walk in, share your issues. Now, of course, if you list 10 issues, we can't just address all 10, but at least you'll find sincere and serious people who at least try and solve at least 5 or 6 out of those 10. Okay, and also the two myths that we often use is, first of all, does India have the capability to absorb? I think that argument also gone on for too long. After 60 years and sending satellites and nuclear blasts and all kinds of high-tech stuff, and now this Covaxin also, I think Indians are sharp enough to absorb any technology. We just need a little hand-holding. When any of our global OEMs set up their shops in China, it's not that China was like God's gift to mankind. They're just the same human beings like us. If they can absorb, we can absorb. So that's one. And number two, there's also a little bit of chicken and egg. First, India should do this, give me a large order and do this and that, and we have a 20-point checklist. You do all that, then probably I'll go back to my headquarters in France, Germany, or UK or US, and then push a case of India, because India's number never comes. Every time we get a chance on day 2 of the global conference, day 2, 4th slot, afternoon slot after a nice lunch. So, India is not there. I understand all that. And as I said, we'll do our half of the bit, but the other half has to be done by the OEMs. India has to be on the manufacturing radar of literally every company, because, as I said, there is a great deal of consciousness that we will no more be a nation of buyers and traders and importers. I'll stop here. Happy to take questions, but let's move on. I think Ms. Davra will also be there next. Garima, over to you, please.
Thank you, Abir sir. That was short, very pithy, very precise, upfront. Thank you again. And I welcome Additional Secretary in the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Mrs. Sumita Davra, to introduce ma'am. Madam is currently looking after, in the DPIIT, investment facilitation, manufacturing policy, Make in India, among other things. Also, Madam has summed up her public policy experiences in form of 2 publications on public policy, Poor but Spirited in Karimnagar, Field Notes of a Civil Servant, and a book on Chinese economy and public policy titled China Behind the Miracle. Her presence here is also very welcome, because DPIIT, with the Make in India manufacturing policy, is a very integral player to this theme of Make in India. So with that, ma'am, I hand over the stage to you.
Thank you very much, Garima. Good evening to Secretary Sir, to Mr. Dilip Chinoy, other members from FICCI, all senior industry captains, members from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Very good evening, and it's my privilege to be part of this very important webinar, which focuses on the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister to make India self-reliant, Aatmanirbhar Bharat. We are all well aware, and we've been discussing how the Indian civil aviation industry has witnessed a robust growth over the years and how it contributes so significantly to the economic development of the country. It plays a key role in connecting Indians across the remote corners of the country and also the world. It brings people together to discover huge business opportunities, tourism opportunities, in India. And with such a great connect and addressing the needs of both the global and Indian markets, it definitely contributes significantly to the GDP of the country and is one of the leading sectors to contribute to the vision of Aatmanirbhar Bharat and self-reliant India. The civil aviation industry of India has overcome many challenges and has become one of the world's most lucrative aviation markets, as I learned. The growth of the sector has been monumental. There have been tough times, but the sector, though it is facing a slow phase, the dynamism of the sector is huge, as we have been discussing the last hour and more. The industry has helped to carry during the pandemic, the PPE, the masks, the medicines, the cargo to the states, union territories, wherever required. And under the Vande Bharat mission, India has established travel bubbles with 16 countries to bring back Indians who were stranded in various countries due to the coronavirus related restrictions. Currently, the Indian airlines are operating domestic flights at around 80% of the pre-COVID levels, which are expected to reach the normal levels by March 2021. And with the anti-coronavirus vaccination likely to begin soon, the Indian aviation sector is looking forward to a much better year compared to 2020. There are huge opportunities in the Indian aviation industry for investments. To add more airports, to increase the capacity at the airports, to bring in new technologies by way of modernizing the air navigation equipment, upgrading radars, runways, and so on. The world is focused on Indian aviation and these opportunities from manufacturers, tourism boards, airlines, global businesses, individual travelers, shippers, businessmen, and so on. The growing passenger traffic and the enhanced regional connectivity offers even more greater manufacturing opportunities for the civil aviation sector and is a great opportunity to generate more jobs and fulfill the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister for Make in India and making India a manufacturing hub for civil aviation sector and related sectors. India will need a huge number of new commercial airplanes and a roadmap to boost manufacturing of the critical components which will go into this manufacturing and the opportunity to upgrade the technical skills of our people for a growing domestic market are again huge opportunities which I would like to mention. We are open, India is open to partnering with the top manufacturers of the world under Make in India and also be a critical partner of the supply chain of the aerospace manufacturing. In this context, while there are huge opportunities, the DPIIT has also been working on creating a national single window system. I did hear some of the speakers talking about it, which is projected to be launched by mid-April 2021, which will be a convergence point for clearances for potential investors from all the departments and ministries of Government of India as well as the state governments. We have also put together in DPIIT, we've also put together and launched a GIS-enabled land bank, which is in the public domain now. There is also a mobile app for it. You can also go to the website of the Industrial Information System, and the National GIS-enabled land bank enables you to see about 3,900 industrial parks in the country. You can go through these parks sector-wise and also see where are the vacant plots which are available, what is the connectivity to the ports, to the airports, to the railway lines, to the national and state highways, and so on. We have also undertaken an exercise to rate the industrial parks of the country to facilitate investors in making their investment choices, which we are doing with the help of the ADB. All these initiatives are being taken under Aatmanirbhar Bharat to facilitate investments in the country and to make it easier for potential investors to come and set up manufacturing in the country. I look forward to interacting more and facilitating wherever necessary for the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the Ministry of Defense, where we also have project development cells now to handhold the investors, which periodically report their progress to an empowered group of secretaries, which is headed by the Cabinet Secretary, the objective being to fast-track investments in the country. I thank the Ministry of Civil Aviation and the Ministry of Defense and FICCI for creating this platform. My privilege to have been able to address all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing with us the initiatives being taken by your ministry to fast-track the Make in India program. With that, I would like to welcome our Secretary Civil Aviation, Shri Pradeep Singh Karola. I would only like to say one thing, that the tenure has not been an easy one, but sir has risen to every challenge and the ministry has grown from strength to strength. With that, sir, I welcome you to please address.
Okay, thank you, Garima, and I think namaskar to all my colleagues from aerospace industry, my own ministry, department, DPIIT, and from the manufacturing sector. Well, yes, it's an important seminar webinar which has been organized, and I was very with keen interest listening to. I'm sorry I could not address Dr. R.K. Tyagi because I can't see him. I can see his name only. I'm sure he's there. Well, an important subject we are discussing about the aerospace industry. Yes, if you look at aerospace industry, I heard Mr. Mishra giving a very elaborate presentation on what aerospace is, how it means, and what the important role of HAL. And then we had Madam Sunita Dabra talking of the role of DPIIT can play. I had my own colleague Amber talking about how to go into specifics rather than generics to get all the aerospace industry in. Now, when you talk of aerospace industry, it is aerospace industry itself has, I would say, I can say several components. Now, it ranges from R&D and design on one end, that is research and development design, pretty high end. It has manufacturing. Manufacturing right now, when you say manufacturing, we're talking about manufacturing of components and parts and ultimately, yes, manufacture of the aircraft also. The third important part of this industry is the MRO industry. Yes, that's I would say a fledgling industry in India, and we are working to make it more vibrant and sustainable, and also to ensure that India emerges as MRO hub of the region. Now, each one of these components of aerospace industry is extremely important, and the good thing is that each one of them is present in India, and it's also growing at a rapid pace. If you look at R&D and design, both the big manufacturers of aircraft have massive design and R&D centers in Bangalore. Now, this establishes our strength, and it also establishes that our strength is going to be the human resources available in India. If say Boeing or Airbus could set up their R&D and design center in India, which means that we have our human resources are of the top order in the world. So that's the first point. Second is, let's come into manufacturing. Now, manufacturing, as Mr. Mishra said, that yes, HAL is the leading manufacturer. We have ISRO, we have NAL. They all manufacture large number of aircraft, components, parts, rockets, and everything. So far, manufacturing was thought to be an exclusive domain of public sector. Now things have changed, and we have the private sector, the global OEMs moving into India, into manufacturing, basically the component manufacturing sector. And this is where the high-end technology is coming in the country. So manufacturing, we have facilities all over India with a good number of manufacturers, and I can see some of them present in this webinar also. And this is a sector which needs to be strengthened further, expanded further. And this is the sector where actual growth will come from, is the component manufacture. The important part is that this sector can grow incrementally. It can grow modularly, and if we think of that, we can start manufacturing an aircraft tomorrow. It's going to be difficult, but if we go step by step, we have the HAL manufacturing defense aircraft, civilian aircraft, similar, but yes, more demanding. And if we have large number of components being manufactured in India, the graduation from component manufacture to aircraft manufacture is going to be an easy task. Now we come to the favorite one, that is the MRO. Now, MRO, we all know the maintenance and repair organizations perform an extremely important role. Now, be it the defense sector or be it the civilian sector, with the fast expanding skies, the number of aircraft being increasing by leaps and bounds. These aircraft, a large number of them, unfortunately, have to fly abroad for maintenance. Now, this, in my view, is the lowest hanging fruit which needs to be plucked. And as my colleague Amber was pointing out, that yes, we have started working in coordination with the defense MROs and civilian MROs to map their strengths and all. At the same time, we have also carried out certain reforms where the tax policy on the MRO has been rationalized. As a result, our MROs today are on a level playing field if we compare to MROs abroad. And I think that if more efforts are made, we will start ensuring that these aircraft which fly abroad do not go outside and the maintenance takes place over here only. So this in short was about the aerospace sector. But what are our major strengths and opportunities which are coming up? Now, number one is that we have a large defense requirement. And yes, we have the new defense offset policy, wherein a favorable environment has been created for investments to be made in India. And this defense requirement will only increase. That's the first big opportunity we have. Second, the more important and a bigger opportunity is the rapidly growing civil aviation market. As Madam Sumita Dawra was pointing out, that the double-digit growth in civil aviation in the last decade and in future also, and the green shoots which are available, we can see today post-COVID, civil aviation has proved itself to be extremely resilient. And one of the industry which has come out of COVID, and I would not say with flying colors, but then yes, it has come out with COVID, and though it is struggling, but then I don't think that the bad period is over, and maybe 2-3 months, at least domestic aviation will be back to its normal. The second point which has been established is that big countries like India, which have huge domestic market, are the countries where the future of aviation lies. So this is a huge opportunity. We have big markets, big demands, and we have been successfully using this big market to get some big investments in India also. Maybe the engine MRO and all, they don't come so easily unless the big acquirers of aircraft persuade them to come to India. Thirdly, I mentioned that availability of skill, there is no doubt about it, and we have the high caliber people available in India. And fourth and more important point is that the policy framework is changing. The defense side, the policy framework has changed. FDI limitations have been increased. On the civilian side also, we are proactively promoting investment of the OEMs or the manufacturer or the MROs in India. So these are I would say, the good opportunities and strengths we have. And now, if you look at the emerging technology, the drones. Now, let's not forget that drones also are a part of aerospace industry. Now, this is an area where our young entrepreneurs who are by far the most brilliant in the world can capitalize on this, and we also become a hub for drone manufacturing. Let's not forget that. So now this is the generics. We have the excellent ambience, we have good technology, the good skills and all. How do we get all these things into India? Now, this is where the challenge is, that from generics, we have to move into specifics. Now, what I'm saying, the state governments will have to play a very important role over here. Actually, the units have to be located in the states. Their policy, their investment policy, their taxation policy, their various the labor policy, everything that determines that really attracts such manufacturing components all over the country. So, in a nutshell, if I say that, well, yes, this is the right time, and we have to, as I generally say, that we have to move from generics to specifics. If we all sit together, and we have the various stakeholders in the aerospace sector, we sit together, we identify the opportunities, we look at our airlines, we use their strengths to persuade people to come over here. We make use of available resources in India, and use them to draw orders from neighboring countries. And if all this is done, only then will we get the synergy required to see to it that this complex but challenging sector of aerospace. Now, the biggest challenge in aerospace is that it is extremely demanding. It cannot go on with chalta hai attitude. Now, it's extremely demanding, high-end precision. And if all these things we are able to do, I'm sure we'll be able to do, this sector will do well. And this also has to do well because this will be the stepping stone to aircraft manufacture in India. So let's. I would like to compliment all the organizers. All of you are we are colleagues. We keep meeting each other. We are not strangers to each other. And unlike a big webinar where about 100 people are sitting and all, this is like a small meeting where 10, 12 of us are sitting and discussing. And a good move. And I really compliment the organizers. But the proof of the pudding lies in eating. Let's get together and let's try to get into some specific things. Let's see that yes, this year we'll see to it that YAB's CD components will be manufactured in India. And for that, what requires to be done? We should do it from the government side, from the airline side, from the defense offset policy side, from our existing manufacturers. What all is possible? So that will be a roadmap needs to be laid where we specifically point out what we need. As the best example, we got the MRO of a major manufacturer, engine MRO in India. This was a concerted effort. It came in the same way, we have to work and we have to identify what all can come in, and then we organize that and ensure that it comes in. So with these few words, thank you very much. It's a very challenging task, a very complicated task, but it is going to be a satisfying task, and it would pave the way for aircraft manufacture in India. So thank you very much, and all the very best, and Happy New Year to all of
you. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, just wanted to tell Secretary Sir that we have only 10 speakers, but we have more than 150 delegates which are watching us online, sir, on the other side of the platform.
Okay. Now that's good. Even see, number is not important. It's the quality which is important.
Thank you, sir, for very precisely summing up the roadmap, for identifying the achievables and getting together in cohesion to achieve that. With that address of Secretary Civil Aviation, we have come to the conclusion of this very fruitful and webinar, having a fantastic exchange of ideas. I would request Mr. Tyagi, Dr. R.K. Tyagi, Chairman FICCI General Aviation Task Force and former Chairman HAL and PHL, to please convey the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Garima. Is my voice level all right? Or nicely audible? Fine, good, thank you. Good evening, dear delegates. Pleasure duty to give the concluding remarks and thanks to the eminent speakers on this webinar, Making India Self-Reliant in Aerospace Manufacturing. And Garima, first compliments to you. Excellent moderation. Good coordination between the knowledge and the wisdom and the time management, all three important dimensions. Excellent, good. Karola Sahab, always pleasure listening to you. More we see you, more we get motivated and more we get inspired. And year 2020, I have no hesitation to say that basically, in a way, belongs to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, in a sense.
We have left it. We have left it behind now.
No, sir, you have left it behind, but the kind of learning and the policy initiatives which you had initiated in 2020, they make the foundation for 2021. And I must tell you, aviation sector has been under the tremendous pressure. In fact, almost every 15th day, you were fine-tuning your policies, the regulations, the bubble creation, the spatial URA and all that. So 2020 will also be remembered as a great year of contribution from the Ministry of Civil Aviation. My compliments to you on that, sir. And also, like, you have given us various valuable thought processes, how to really make India a aerospace manufacturing hub. On behalf of FICCI, sir, I convey my thanks and appreciations to you for your all initiatives and encouragement to us. It was great listening to the initiatives and perspectives of DP IIT, Davraji. You are really making a great help to the Indian manufacturing sector. Your PLI is a benchmark policy. And I'm sure the kind of initiatives which you have taken up, it will go a very long way in strengthening the aerospace manufacturing in India. Our thanks and compliments to you. MOCA 2020 has done very well under the leadership of Karola Sahab. And it was, in fact, pleasure seeing two youngsters, Usha Padiji and Ambar Dubeji, working tirelessly and making sure that, yes, whatever of the country's expectations, they are fulfilled. And in fact, they have really made tremendous contributions. I have been seeing both of you in various seminars, giving various policy dispensations, and also telling about the various initiatives which MOCA has taken up. So my compliments and appreciations to both of you, especially the way you have created the digital sky and digital platforms in civil aviation. That we are going to remember for a very long time. Pleasure listening to Mr. Remy Millard, who is heading our FICCI committee on aerospace. He has given an industry perspective and also compliments to Asmita Sethi and Parag Vadhavan who have very effectively given the OEM perspectives. And also then Indian industry viewpoint, the capabilities ably put up by Mr. M.K. Mishra and Mr. Ankit Mehta, a youngster, always pleasure listening to you. My appreciation and thanks to all of you. Karola Sahab, 2020 has been a year of great learning. And of course, there was no blue book available, but I am sure the way we have acted upon, a lot of blue books can be created out of our experiences of 2020. And I take 2020 as a great year. It was full of challenges, but then so many policy initiatives came from the government. Skill India, Digital India, Make in India, National Education Policy, GSTs, 25 sectors being strengthened. In fact, like Asmita ji told about the pillars of development, I think 2020 was a foundational year when all the pillars of development of modern India were laid up. And now 2021 will be the year for actions, the activities, 21. And I am very happy. Mr. Mishra, you must be a very happy man that what media reports are indicating by 26th of January, HAL is going to get one of the highest orders of its life, 39,000 crore for supply of 83 number of LCAs. And along with it, another 160 industries, the MSMEs are also happy because this gives them a continuity of the order. So action has started. And I am sure that 2021 is going to be a very excellent year as far as Indian contributions are concerned. We have listened to various thoughts. The great ideas. I am just summing up in 5 things. Number 1, our youngster spoke about Drone Commission of India. Yes, forming commissions is a very good thing. Atomic energy did well, space did well because they were all commissions, autonomous. Everything they could do together, whether it is export, technology, manufacturing, R&D, innovations, taxations, and formulation of stable policies. I think it is a time when we must go for Aerospace Commission of India. This is something which I have been listening and people have been talking for last 20 years. Unrelenting that if we have to really progress, if India really has to emerge as a technological power, it is a time when we go for creation of Aerospace Commission of India. That is, I think, our recommendation 1. Number 2, it is also a time when we should go for our regional civil aircraft program. India needs aircrafts and they need to be manufactured in the country. We are not pleading that we will reinvent the wheel and we'll develop everything in the country. I think it is a time when foreign OEMs will come with us. They will give us know-why, they will give us know-how, and we start manufacturing the regional aircraft which will be used by India and can be exported to the other countries in next 5 to 7 years. That can be another thing we can take off. Number 3, sir, if we want to strengthen aerospace manufacturing, the industry needs orders. And for orders, 3 things are needed. Number 1, we have been talking about, now we have already relaxed FDI. Now it is a time to implement a strategic partner model. At least 4 orders need to be given under the policy of strategic partner management. That is what is the need of the hour today. Number one. Number two, sir, it is a time when we do away with the batch models. We giving order of 10 LCS to HAL or giving order of 5 drones to somebody in manufacturing drones, that will not work. We need to work on the pattern of continuous orders. If Idea Force is doing well, we will not say you participate in 10 drone tenders of Rajasthan, 10 of Gujarat, and like that. We will say no. Mr. Amber Dubey will agree with me. We will say, Idea Force, tell us what is your annual capability. And then you go on making it for next 7 years. The marketing is something which you people will not be responsible with. That will be enabled by MOCA. So go for continuous production models. Number three. Sir, it is also, as you know, MROs. Most of this, our aircrafts will go to the foreign countries because the leasing companies will make it sure that they will go for inspections to other neighboring countries. You have already embarked upon a model of regulatory regime is being set up in NIFT, and that's a good initiative. But sir, what we need is, in fact, as an Indian, I feel very pained today when I find that 8 lakh crore of Indian banks is lying with Reserve Bank of India today on reverse repo because there are no takers. They are not able to disperse this money. I think it is a time when we create IAFLC, that is Indian Aerospace Finance Leasing Corporation, which will provide funds to HAL, which will provide funds to the joint venture, the strategic partners, and it will also provide funds to our aircraft operators, Indigo, SpiceJet, etc. Entire funding need of the civil aviation sector and defense sector will be met through Indian Aerospace Finance Leasing Corporation. Already a successful model is available when we talk of Indian Railway Finance Corporation. They had similar difficulties decade ago. We created it and we are successful. Now, sir, last 2 points. I think it is a time that SEMILAC, DGCA and DGAQA, they have done individually excellent service. But as a combination, they are not able to come together. Industry is facing difficulties. Even I am finding that when NAL, they could not get certification in DGCA, they went to SEMILAC and they took a military certification. I think we cannot go on wasting our Indian resources and capabilities in multi-testing agencies and certifying agencies. At national level, we can think of merging them. And also, sir, if we have to be really successful in aerospace and manufacturing, I think it is a time when we create central test and R&D centers and facilities, providing a national funding to these institutes. Aerospace manufacturing technologies will prosper only if R&D is strong, only if the technology is strong. The industry today will not have financial capability and bandwidth to invest in R&D and technology. That is something, sir, which under the stewardship of Secretary Civil Aviation and also in the Ministry of Defense, that we can take care of R&D and technology management, has a specifically fund generated for it. Thank you very much, sir. And when I come to the concluding final thanks, appreciations to FICCI. 2020 has been your most transformative year. I have seen you action, so many sectors of industry, so many policy advocacies. And if I have attended one of the best annual conventions of any federation anywhere in the world, it was your annual convention, which was held in the month of December recently. So my compliments to great FICCI team, Mr. Dilip Shenoy, great leader, then Mr. Manoj Mehta, Manika and Rinki, you all have been doing excellent, superb. You have made a very good beginning for Happy New Year 2021 by organizing this webinar where all the illustrious personalities of the country are together and discussing on how to strengthen and make India self-reliant in aerospace manufacturing. So thank you very much, Team FICCI, and thank you very much, all the participants and speakers. Have a very, very happy New Year 2021. Thank you very much. Over to Garimaji back.
Thank you, Dr. Tyagi. with that, we come to the end of this webinar. I thank all the participants. We have all gone back collecting some very great ideas on which to work on. And have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So with this, we conclude the session, and we all thanks everyone who participated in it, and we look forward to see you on 3rd of Feb in Bangalore, when we will again organize the session on the civil aviation. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.